All right. So let me get set up here, but this is not what I thought I'd be doing today. This is not what I plan to do today. But hey, figure it out. This shit is making my brain hurt. Make sure I'm coming in.
This shit is making my brain hurt.
Yep, it is. All right. It's good on that.
Coming in. This shit.
I need to stop that. All right. So with this, there's a guy in brother, you got to change that name. This guy on Twitter that's in the Discord. Again, if you're not in that Discord, I mean, it's pretty much where this stuff is getting dropped. And hell, man, he's impressive. On Twitter, his name of all things is the biggest shitter, and so yeah, there's that. It's kind of a crazy name. He told me the story behind it, but that's what he uses. So, is what it is. This is something he dug up today, man, which is it's impressive. It's very impressive. Now, this is about Benjamin Paddock. This is the history of Benjamin Paddock, and this really just draws it all out. Now, I wish, and I'm kind of looking at it. I guess there are certain, something like Microsoft Paint you can use on Apple, but I don't want to take the time to figure that shit out right now. So I just wanted to come out with this and look at this because this is fucking nuts. I mean, this basically tells the guy's entire life story. Well, in a condensed version, but yeah, I mean, it's a TLDR of this dude's life story. And again, this guy, I mean, oof, I'm impressed, man. This guy's finding all kinds of crazy shit. But he even found a picture of Paddock, which, I don't have that on here right now, but he found a picture of Paddock from, I don't know, quite a bit before he died. I guess it was at one of the high school reunions or something like that. But yeah, anyway, let's look at this, right? So this is archives. I guess this is an interview done with Paddock when he was going, I think, to prison. And I think it might have been the last time. I don't know. We'll get it in this article. It'll spell it all out. Well, this is 1960, and Honorable David Ling, Federal Courthouse, Phoenix, Arizona. All right, Patrick Paddock. Now, they put Patrick, not Benji, but whatever. He had a couple different names going on there, but like I said, this kind of runs down as from his own words, runs down kind of his life story here. And real quick before I get started here, I want to send a message to somebody. Okay, so I'll read through it a little bit, try to go over a little bit of the timeline, see if we can see what we see within this. Because I don't know, this stuff makes my brain hurt, and I figure if I'm gonna have a headache, then you should too. But examined today in Maricopa County Jail was a white male, 34 years old, right? So he's 34, 1960. He's apparently charged with 3 counts of armed robbery or bank robbery. He is, as he puts it, a third-time loser. Now, I looked up a little bit of the bank robbers stuff. The other 2 guys that got ratted out about this guy's while this guy was in prison. The other 2 guys got ratted out. They seemed like they were working together, like they were their own fucking team. Like that maybe Paddock was actually working on his own with some of his bank robbery stuff, but I don't know. Because I haven't seen anything referring to him actually using a team to actually go rob these banks. Sounds like he was just running in with guns and give me your money. But it's hard to say. Let's see. So anyway, he's referring to the fact that in 1946 he was charged with stealing an automobile and selling it in a fraudulent fashion. He served 5 years of a 5 to 8 year sentence in the Illinois State Penitentiary on that count. So he was stealing cars and selling them. And in 1953, he was sentenced to the same state penitentiary for 2 to 4 years, of which he served somewhat less than 3 years. Now, I think the last thing I was given was that these were separate prisons, but according to this, it's the same one. I don't know. And that was in 1953. So 1946, we got him doing 5 years. So he was in there from 46 to what, 51? And then in 53, this dumb shit gets fucking put right back in. So yeah, definitely a career criminal. So that we got that. So yeah, so he was only free for about 2 years there. In that. And let's see. So what was he at this point? 1960, he was 34. So I put him in what? 1924, he was born, right? Right? Yeah. Yeah. I think my math is on. I said my brain hurts from all this. Yeah, that's what I was going to work on, man. But I can't find, as far as building the timeline of all this, I can't find a paint program for fucking Apple that is easy to use like Microsoft Paint. Otherwise, I just write all this shit out and do what the little streamers do on Twitch. But yeah, haven't figured that out yet. I know there's ways to do it on here, but I looked it up, man. I don't know. I don't want to figure something out right now. I just wanted to do this. So from 46, right? So he's when he went and did his first stint, he was what? So we're talking about 1924 to 46. So he was 22 years old. Ends up in the clink, right? Google Sheets. I'll try it. I'll try it out. I said I don't want to try and figure shit out right now. But anyway, this fucker. He was also in the military in this time, so we get down to that later. So we're not necessarily going to go in sequence here. So 1953 to about 61, he would have been in prison. 46. I'm sorry, 46, 51. He would have been in prison, and then in 53, he was sentenced for 2 to 4 years, which he served somewhat less than 3 years. So 56. We're talking about. So 46, 51, he was locked up. Then again, 53 to about 56, somewhat less than 3 years. So I'm guessing, around 55, 56, he got out. Examination, big, bald, rather white-faced man of Nordic stock. It's funny how they used to describe people. Height is 6'4", weighs 237 pounds. He is, as a matter of fact, rather prepossessing and clean cut. I don't know what the fuck that even means, but all right, we're good. In general appearance, he has thin straw-colored mustache. What the fuck is a straw-colored mustache? And he's wearing horn-rimmed glasses. The eyes are surprisingly light gray in color. He chain smokes during this interview. We got something in common. But I'm not a sociopath. In outward demeanor, he appears almost incongruously cheerful. Something we don't have in common. This mood scarcely escapes an impression of what is this fucking word? Supercilious. I don't even know what the fuck that means. In his manner during the first and more guarded reaction to the interview. He smiles frequently, sometimes winningly, shows occasionally just a touch of ruefulness. No despair, alarm, or concern about his fate is manifest. His account of himself is highly verbalized, seldom interrupted. Okay. He has a fluent command of language and of criminal slang. I get the impression that he enjoys being interesting subject of examination. All right. Uh, Throughout, he makes very many comments about his superior intelligence and quick learning capacity, etc. He appears to become evasive only towards the end of the interview when the topic of the current charges is at hand. Then he disagrees quickly to tell about his interest and activity in the field of juvenile delinquency at Tucson. An example of his comments: I took only the, let's see, what is super, okay, thanks for the definition there, man. What is that? Feeling or showing haughty disdain, arrogant. Okay, so he's arrogant. All right, all right. So that's what supercilious means. It's arrogant. They could have just said arrogant, man. And I think they did use the word arrogant later, but whatever. These fucking people. Um, I took only the incorrigibles, which yeah, I know that means. If you can get a kid between the age of 14 and 17, you can do something with them. I take them, the difficult ones. I didn't lose any of them. That is, none of them has appeared in court. I did pretty well. Yeah, it's a crazy word. He goes on to relate that he set up the whole department concerned with juvenile delinquency in Tucson. I have a knack for social work with kids. I told him I had a degree in social psychology. It's amazing how nobody checked on anything back then. And nobody bothered to check up on it. They regarded me as a leading light on juvenile delinquency. Similarly, yeah, I love that word. He reports his own statement, his intelligence quotient as 183 the last time they took it. With becoming modesty, he adds that intelligent tests measure only potential, and a man should be judged by his accomplishments. All right, well, your accomplishments kind of suck, bro. Whatever. He is a native of Wisconsin, only child of a retired furniture and lumber dealer who died at 83 of heart trouble. His mother lives in Tucson. So, as far as his mother lives in Tucson, I'm guessing this is in 1960 when this was written. I don't know if she lived in Tucson the whole time because he grew up in Wisconsin. I don't fucking know. But so was she obviously was in Tucson in 1960. I don't have a time frame of when she was actually moved there, which becomes a problem later. The patient grew up in Wisconsin and Chicago. He frankly, almost boastfully, tells of his early unwillingness to accept any discipline and of his parents' neglect in applying discipline. Okay. I got away with an awful lot. I went where I felt like it, disrupting everybody's schedule. He says that by age 12 and a half, he was already 6 feet tall, did what he pleased, had his own automobile. Fuck, dude, 12 and a half, 6 foot tall. That's crazy. This dude should have been a basketball player. He quit school in the beginning of the freshman year of high school. Okay, so, all right, yeah. Well, that makes sense because he goes into the fucking Navy. At 15, he joined the Navy where he served no more than 7 or 8 months. They found out I just wasn't going to do what they wanted me to do. He was apparently offered an opportunity to resign without a dishonorable discharge. I went on home, and mother pampered me for a couple months. So, yeah, okay, so we're talking about age 15, 1939? Yeah, 1939, right? So, six. Okay. Anyway, sorry, just reading comments. Um, so he goes into the fucking Navy at 15, which I don't know, but from some of the videos I've watched of the stuff going on, at least in World War II, you're not allowed to go into the military until you're 18 or 17 if you have a guardian signature. So I don't know how he pulled that off. But there are stories of people pulling that shit off. Some of There's some famous veterans out there that actually signed up before they were 17, got away with it. Uh, anyway, so and then the thing is, like, I'm guessing the way he was discharged, because not following orders, you usually get in trouble in the military. But I'm guessing he probably just told him, "Hey, man, I'm only 15 years old, dude. You guys fucked up bringing me in here," and they probably just let him go without making it look bad. Um, but who knows? Who knows? But he went home to his mother, right? So we're talking about what, 1939, around there. Maybe around 1940 we might be hitting on, but who knows? And then so was the mother in Chicago? Was the mother in where was this? Where was the mother at this point? I'm guessing Chicago. I'm guessing she wasn't in Tucson yet, so I'm guessing Chicago, but it's hard to say. Um, thence, the fuck, are you using wordage like that? Thence he went to live with an aunt in Los Angeles. It's no timeline there and how long he stayed with his mother. Well, pampered me for a couple months, so I'm guessing, okay, he'd probably stay with her just for a couple months. Then he went to Los Angeles, where he obtained employment driving a bus for Los Angeles railroad system until he was discharged. In other words, he was fired. His being fired was for a real screwy reason. An accident, and this is in his words, an accident report that I didn't turn in. I just forgot about it. Yeah, sure you did. He tells how he and other drivers would take the buses for joyriding and play tag with them on Sunday afternoons. How the fuck do you play tag with a fucking bus? I mean, we're talking about what, the 40s? So what did the buses even look like in the 40s? I don't even fucking know, but that's kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy, and that's kind of stupid. Um, for about 10 months, he worked for Greyhound Bus Company in Chicago. This appears to have been his longest interval of steady employment. Good for you, bro. Good for you. So now he's in Chicago again, right? So he went from LA, got in trouble, got fired, ran back to Chicago, started driving buses again, right? So he's probably went back there and said, "Yeah, I used to drive buses in LA, man. I was the greatest bus driver ever." Um, let's see. So 4 years ago, he came to Tucson, right? So now we're talking about 1956. So we have a huge jump in time here. Because the 10 months he worked in Chicago, I mean, I'm assuming that was in probably the early 40s, maybe. Because he went to live with his aunt in Los Angeles, probably that might have been what, maybe 41, around there. He's fired pretty quickly from that job. Did 10 months, then went 10 months in the Greyhound Bus Company in Chicago. So I'm guessing we're maybe early 40s somewhere at this point. And then 4 years ago he came to Tucson, right? So we have a big gap in the story here. Which do we feel that? Yeah. I mean, he did time, right? So he did time in 46. So yeah, I guess it's starting to fit a little bit. 4 years ago he came to Tucson. He purchased a service station and another station across the street. So we're talking about 1956. He came to Tucson, so we got him coming to Tucson in 56. He purchased a service station, another station across the street. Man, this guy, how'd you get that much money, dude? You can't hold a fucking job. Does the military pay that good back then? So you saved up enough? That's crazy. So yeah, there's some. Well, let's see. So 4 years ago, he came to. Okay, this is after all his criminal shit. So yeah, okay. He purchased a service station. He robbed banks. Okay. He purchased a service station, another station across the street. He then worked for a sales outfit, garbage disposals, washers, etc., until he was able to obtain or purchase a franchise for distributorship. So he did do a lot with cars, man. And I don't have it pulled up, but the bar that he supposedly worked at, and I remember when I was reading some article somewhere, one of those fucking newspaper articles said he only worked there for like a couple days or something like that. I don't know if he's a bouncer or what, but that bar is now they sell motorcycles, and it's surrounded by uh, it's basically a place surrounded by areas that work on bikes and cars, so it's a bunch of basically mechanics. It's in that kind of an area. I wonder if that area was like that back then, and that's why he ended up working for that bar. Maybe his service stations were in that area at the same time, because we don't have an address for any of these yet. I'm sure Homeboy will probably dig that shit up too. Until he was able to obtain and purchase a franchise for distribution. Yeah, that's him selling garbage disposals and bullshit like that. To back up to a more chronological account, thank you. It will be recalled that he first got into serious difficulty in 1946. Yes. He says that he was still unable and unwilling to abide by rules and restrictions. He found the penitentiary real rough and got into fights and disciplinary difficulties. He volunteers 70% of my time I spent in the hole. The last 2 years in solitary. He'd spent 5 years and 3 months. Okay, so 5 years, 3 months. All right. So 46 to 51, probably 52. God, so he wasn't out that long before he got locked back up again, man. This guy, he didn't give a shit. So apparently it wasn't that rough, dude, because you ended up right back in there. Thereafter in Chicago, he sold automobiles in bulk, and I believe, he was in prison in Chicago both times. He sold automobiles in bulk, right? Let's see, cars, i.e., cars have been used by an auto leasing company. He says he made as much as $2,600 a month. So, was he stealing those? I don't know. Sounds like he might have been stealing those too. But he didn't get in trouble for that. But his job entailed considerable traveling. Why do you have to travel? I don't understand that, man. Why do you have to travel? Like, you own a car lot. Why are you traveling? I mean, unless, like I said, you're stealing the cars from somewhere else and bringing them in. I don't understand why it takes a lot of traveling. And he quit it and then got married. He has been married for 8 years. So 1952 was the marriage thing in the paper. They have 4 children. Thereafter, he sold garage doors, portrait modeling, etc. So, I guess, did he just bring the family over? It looks like he might have just brought the family over. Originally, I was thinking he was traveling from Tucson to Chicago somehow with the family. That was weird. So, I guess here it looks like he probably brought the family over in 1956. So, and I don't remember how old Paddock was. Paddock was born in what, like 52 or something like that. 53, somewhere around there, if I remember right. He says to himself twice during this examination, maybe I'm an alert psychotic. I can pick up, learn anything. Is that what it means to be an alert psychotic? Is that what that fucking means? Crazy, bro. You're crazy. He says of his work in Chicago, and you got to remember, he's telling this, I believe, to the court. It's fucking nuts. He says of his work in Chicago, there was no challenge left. The thrill had gone out of it. Oh, fuck. He then met a fellow who had been in penitentiary with him. All right, so this is where shit gets a little interesting. We went and got a couple of guys from Kansas City and ran off a check scheme. Okay, so there's the check, the bad checks. Set up a blind, etc. I don't know what that means, set up a blind. I mean, I kind of know what it means in poker, but I don't know. He speaks of the $90,000 worth of bad checks, which he and several other pastors got rid of in a short interval. He says it was a tricky deal, but these guys couldn't keep their mouths shut. Let's see. We went and got a couple of guys. So he's not saying he was in charge of it. saying we went and got a couple of guys from Kansas City and ran off a check scheme. All right. How did he? Did he? So the other guy must have had the connection to Kansas City at this point. All right. Well, we can look into that in a minute. Because Kansas City at that time, let me see here. Because I'm guessing we're talking mob stuff, right? I mean, I don't know why. Maybe I'm wrong in that, but I'm thinking like, these are a lot of mob activities. It seems, and it seems like the mob did not like you fucking around in their territories. Kansas City crime family. So in 1950, what was going on in Kansas City here? 21st century. Yeah, I don't give a fuck about that. Let's see, 1981. Let's see, where are we going in the 50s? So 70s. Okay, so the 50s. When Prohibition ended in 1933, the family, although already involved in various rackets, allegedly began extorting bars. On July 10th, 1934, Lanza was Lazia was assassinated, probably on the orders of his underboss, Charles Carollo, who ruled as boss until the arrest in 1939 for tax evasion. His underboss, Charles Benaggio, then became the new boss and expanded the family's areas of labor into racketeering. With the help of Benaggio, Forrest Smith was elected in Missouri gubernatorial race in 1948, took office on January 10th, 1949. Benaggio was seen as a liability to the Mafia's nationwide commission, and it was decided Benaggio should be killed. He was assassinated April 6, 1950, and his successor, Anthony Gizzo, died of a heart attack in 1953. The new boss was Nicholas Savella, who greatly expanded the family's rackets and forged alliances with families from other cities, making the organization very powerful. Savella used the Teamsters to fund casinos in Las Vegas. 75, he was in prison. Yeah, it doesn't matter at that point. He used Teamsters to fund casinos. There was some interesting shit about the Teamsters too that I was looking at that just kind of popped into my head. Anyways, let's keep going. So I don't know. I don't know if this got to do with organized crime, but it sure seems like it, man. I mean, they got locked up with a dude who went and picked up a couple dudes in Kansas City that were willing to pass bad checks and start this whole scheme. I don't know. Bonanno from New York was not yet in Kansas City at this time. I believe Bonanno in New York, when did he come over? Into Tucson. Let's see. Let's see. So Joseph Bonanno Jr. moved to Tucson, Arizona in 1958. It's interesting though. He grew up there. Salvatore Bonanno attended Tucson High School as a child. So Bonanno from New York. The idea that I got from him, didn't mean to do that, was that Bonanno tried to off everybody around him. He tried to fucking nix out all the other New York heads. And one guy from Buffalo, one guy from Los Angeles who had ties all the way back to New York. And he tried to off all his fucking competition over there in New York, man, take over. That's what it sounds like. And then since he was one of the heads, they didn't want to off his ass. So they sent him to, they told him, they basically exiled his ass. And then he ended up in Tucson to hide from him. He made up some crazy story that he'd been kidnapped and dropped in Tucson or something. And they all kind of made fun of him for it. It's my understanding. But that was in, what year did I say that was in? That was in 1958. So I don't think we're in 1958 yet, right? let's see. So throw gone. So he left Chicago and came to Tucson, right? Came to Tucson in '56. Um, he met a fellow had been in penitentiary with him. What penitentiary are we talking about here? Shit. What penitentiary are we talking about? Because this is in '60, so it's before that. So are we talking about the penitentiary he was in from '53 to what, '56, '57? That area there? Was he already running with these people? See, that's where I'm getting kind of confused here as far as timeline goes. Um, it was on that charge he charged. Yeah, okay, so here we go. On that charge he served his second penitentiary sentence. I got along all right. I made a deal with the warden. You leave me alone, and I won't cause you any trouble. Discharged from penitentiary in 1956. Okay, so there we go. Um, he took a trip to see his family in Oregon, stopped in Tucson, and decided to settle there. Okay, yeah, and then wait, what the fuck? How am I getting this timeline wrong? How am I all fucked up here? Right? Because this guy says 4 years ago he came to Tucson, right? This was written in 1960. But this says he was discharged from penitentiary in 1956. He took a trip to see his family in Oregon, stopped in Tucson. Oh, okay. It's on Tucson. God, dude. Yeah, I'm all fucked up. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? Yeah, I'm all fucked up. Okay. I see what's going on here, right? Discharged from in '56. So he must have met this guy before '56. He took a trip to see his family in Oregon. I forget what family he had up there. I think I saw it in one of the other articles. Stopped in Tucson, decided to settle there. He indicates, God, his family is everywhere, man. He had family in Los Angeles, Oregon, Tucson, Chicago. Well, he moved to Chicago, but Wisconsin. He indicates that Tucson, he took an active and promptly successful part in various civic and other activities. Well, I had money, and my wife had saved a couple thousand, which is a lot of money back then. He was interested in automobile racing until he thought it might adversely influence his boy. He says that then he took up ham radio, obtained a license. So I did see the ham radio license that he got. It's got his little number and stuff like that, which has since been recycled to somebody else because there's another name on that ham radio license, unless that's his. Well, no, because that was issued, and I think I forget 2007 or something like that. So I don't think that was his. Anyway, I don't think that was an alias of his. I think that was the numbers get recycled. I guess I don't know. I don't know much about ham radios. So he got out of automobile racing. So it sounds to me like illegal automobile racing. It don't sound like he's talking about Formula One shit and stuff like that. It sounds like he's talking about something else, man. Otherwise, why would it be a danger to your kid if you're watching fucking NASCAR and shit? He describes his automobile, a 1960 Pontiac. I'm just curious, man. 1960, what kind of race car do we have for? And well, this wouldn't be the race car because this is in 1960. He bought this thing right before he got locked up, or right before he did this here, because it's got to be a new car, right? This is written in 1960, in which there was such radio equipment as would make it ideal for a burglar robber. Why'd you have that, buddy? Why did you have that? Because the operator could monitor the police calls and the FBI messages, etc. Why did you have that, bro? Why did you have that? You don't need all that. Fuck this guy. He indicates in a rather involved story that the present charges arise out of a case of mistaken identity. Yeah, sure, buddy. There's no guilty people in prison. You just got to ask them. He tells more or less confidentially, of his dealings with the syndicate. Now that's interesting, right? The syndicate, because I've seen some articles on the mob where they just call them the syndicate. on Wikipedia of all places. Which, yeah, maybe they weren't calling them the mafia back then. I don't know. But on account, well, I guess this is before the Lefevre files or whatever the fuck that shit is, where the mob became, a known thing. So I'd have to go back and look and see when those were done. In a minute, he tells more or less confidentially his dealings with the syndicate, on account of which he must not really attempt to defend himself or disclose to the court the identities of those who took his car and presumably committed the armed robberies. Right, so he's afraid of somebody. Somebody's gonna murk this motherfucker if he talks shit. So yeah, he wasn't gonna rat at this point. Although it sounds like eventually he did. Finally, he spends some time persuading us that we should not bug him or bug him to Springfield on any kind of an insanity defense. To Springfield on any kind of, yeah, okay, that's a weird way of writing that. He insists that he has never been mentally ill, never even unconscious. What the fuck does that even mean, dude? Is he talking about like drinking or something? Okay. What the fuck, dude? What are you doing? He anticipates a sentence of approximately 15 years, of which he will have to spend 9 years, 8 months if he gets time off for good behavior. He is sure that he can arrange an interesting job in the penitentiary. What the fuck does that even mean? Whereas he might be bored and neglected in a mental hospital, alcohol has not been a factor in any of his troubles. Comment: examination discloses no evidence of mental disease or defect in this relatively bright individual. He has, in my opinion, a sociopathic personality. So far as his mental condition is concerned, he is able to understand proceedings and to aid counsel in his defense, and he has been able to know the difference between right and wrong and the nature and consequences of his acts. So, what happened to him being psychotic? Him being completely fucking psychotic. And, I mean, they said he's a sociopath, but it's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people out there sociopaths. Let's see. I heard okay. Screen comment. I heard a Hollywood mobster yesterday talking about how the mob and the syndicate were two different things. Sean Atwood interview. Huh. Okay. I'll have to look into that. In fact, let me look it up right now because that's what I'm here for. The National Crime Syndicate was a multi ethnic, closely connected American confederation of several crime organizations. It mostly consisted of and was led by the closely interconnected Italian American mafia and Jewish mob. So, yeah, it looks like it was tied to the mob. I don't know. In the context of organized crime, the mob typically refers to the Italian American mafia, while the syndicate usually describes a broader network of criminal organizations, often including the mafia alongside other ethnic crime groups like the Jewish mob, effectively acting as a larger criminal coalition, sometimes called the National Crime Syndicate. Okay. Let's see what we got on the National Crime Syndicate Wikipedia. I'm going to put this on screen. See, next is multi-ethnic. Yeah, okay, I already read that. Is also involved to a lesser extent other ethnic criminal organizations such as Irish mob and African American crime groups. Hundreds of murders were committed by Murder Inc. on behalf of National Crime Syndicate during the 30s and the 40s. Let's see. So what I want to see the 50s. So I don't care about the bootlegging, all that. That was before all this stuff was happening. Murder Inc. consisted of two factions. One was Jewish Brownsville boys headed by Abe Kid Twist Rellies, who reported to, I'm not going to try and pronounce that. Um, the other was Italian Ocean Hill hooligans led by Harry Malone, who reported to, Bugsy Siegel was involved in many of Murder Inc.'s murders, but as a leading figure instead of a soldier. Um, let's see. So by the late 1940s, Murder Inc. and most of its non-Italian components were defunct. Some individuals, such as Lansky, continued to operate as affiliates of Italian groups. Okay, so I guess I see what's going on. So the Italians used to use people that were not Italian instead of calling them, part of the La Cosa Nostra because they ethnically couldn't be part of it. They would just call them part of the National Crime Syndicate. That's what it sounds like. I mean, that's honestly what that shit sounds like. Um, all right, so let's see. So 1946. Well, okay. So if we go back to, let me try to piece this shit together because this is a fucking mess. Let's see. What am I looking at? It's no, I don't want that. Don't want that. I want the FBI shit. There we go. There's the FBI shit. Let's go back to this thing. And let's see, 60s. Yeah, that's when looks like Arizona started going off. Bonanno moved to Arizona in the 50s and 60s. Like I said, according to the internet, I mean, whatever. He went there in the 58. So we got where was the guy who Slayton, John Slayton. Agents arrested John Slayton, and Slayton shot at police officers pursuing him as he fled after being questioned about bad checks. So I'm guessing Slayton and him probably had a history. I haven't found anything on that guy, but it sounds like Slayton was doing the same dirty business about the same time. He got caught for it. Bank robber Jerry James and Don Sparks. I looked them up. It looks like they worked together, and they were just, doesn't sound like they were really related, but they were wanted for robbing residences. Okay, so they weren't even robbing banks, I guess. I thought they was banks, but whatever. Bank robber Donald Rainey was apprehended in Nogales. So that's kind of what we got here, and then ones that didn't make it. Jimmy Workman had robbed 9 California banks, wanted in Phoenix for his suspected commission of October 62 robbery. So 62. Yeah, my brain ain't working. So 62 was after he was already in prison. Known for disguising himself and for taking hostages during the robberies. He used to be named top 10 in November 62. Let's see. So, I mean, it almost sounds to me like, because Paddock walked out in, oh God, what year? I'm all fucked up now, between the 50s and the 60s. He walked out, 69, I believe. So he was in there from 61 to 69. So in that time, they arrested all these dudes, which I don't know, man. I don't know. It's interesting that they arrest a bunch of dudes and all of a sudden he just gets to walk the fuck out. I mean, that's a little suspect. But he admits to being part of some syndicate, whatever the fuck that means to him. So let's see. 3 years later, Phoenix agents were summoned to a robbery and arrested Robert Camacho, another serial bank robber. Another one. The agents determined Camacho was the actual culprit in the October 62 robbery mentioned above. Camacho was convicted and imprisoned, but it wasn't the last Phoenix heard of him. Another year passed. The agents were called to help search for several escaped prisoners, including Camacho. Escapees had spread the bars of one of the prison windows using a metal window frame, and they removed it from a bathroom. Then knocked a hole in cement block wall, made their escape, and split up. For days, agents searched nearby desert, mountains, and canyons. They recaptured 3 escapees, including Camacho. So they said a year later, said 3 years later, um, they got him in October 62. But it wasn't in Phoenix. Another year passed. The agents were called to help search for several escaped prisoners. It sounds like in 63. So it doesn't sound like Paddock was part of that, unless he was. They're just not talking about it. But yeah, it doesn't sound like he was part of all that. All right. So let's go back to what we're looking at. Um, yeah, the real estate thing was that was actually what I was going to go into today. To be honest with you, um, I was going to look into some of Paddock's real estate because it's all fairly straightforward. It looks like he was just making money off real estate, but you get to some weird shit like the California City property he bought, which is out in the middle of fucking nowhere, which is really strange. But living in California, growing up in that time, because I think that was the '90s when he bought that thing. Um, they were peddling that pretty fucking hardcore, dude. I remember, Saturday morning and shit, you would have all these commercials for California City, and I believe that was the one where the dude from Chips was advertising it. I don't remember exactly if that's the one or not, but yeah, they had a couple of those little startup cities that they were trying to build up that time, and that might have been one of them. So he could have just seen the fucking thing and decided, "Fucking, I'm gonna buy a fucking property out there because maybe it'll blow up." But he did make some money off of it, so I kind of I like to go into it and like just look at like because it's hard to read, man. It's hard to read the background report. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So figuring all this shit out because it says sometimes that he lived in a house for a day, and it's like no, it doesn't work like that, dude. So I don't understand a lot of how that operates. Wish it did. Um, anyways, so we got let's see. He's referring to the fact that in 1946 he charged stealing an automobile and selling it in fraudulent fashion. He served 5 years. Okay, so he stole a car. He was probably stealing multiple cars at that point. Um, so we got from 46, 51, and then 53. He gets hammered for another 2 to 4 years, right? So what, 56, 57, something like that. Um, he's big, blonde, bald, rather white-faced man of Nordic stock, height 6 foot. He's thin, struggling. Okay, his outward demeanor appears almost cheerful, like he didn't give a shit. Um, he didn't. He talked a lot. Um, thought he was smart. He thought he was smart. I guess he kind of was actually. I mean, he was able to pull some shit off. He got caught a lot, but became invasive towards the end of the interview, which is, I believe, the end of the interview is probably where they were talking. It says one topic of the current charges, so it's probably he was afraid to rat anybody out, get himself in trouble to where he might get fucking taken out. And he talked about his fucking deal with his dealing with juveniles. I don't know what that's about, man. It just seems really strange. Um, I know people are trying to put a lot of stuff on that, but it's like none of these kids. He claims none of these kids got busted for anything. So I don't know if he was using them for anything. Um, and he was smart enough to get away with that shit. Yeah, he told me as a psychologist. They never really found out, probably until he got arrested. Um, his dad was a furniture and lumber dealer. Okay. Um, yeah, it's not much there. His mother lives in Tucson. Well, she did at the time of. That's weird, right? He's doing all his crime, fucking with his mom in the city. It's crazy. Robbing banks for mom. Uh, Patient grew up in Wisconsin, Chicago. Frankly, almost mostly tells he had a problem with authority. I get that. Totally get that. He quit school in the beginning of the freshman year of high school. Yeah, okay. Um, Almost sounds like the beginning of Goodfellas here. Age 15, he joined the Navy where he served no more than, yeah, like I said, Navy thing. I can plan it. I could see that, dude. I could see him just saying, I'm not going to fucking do this shit anymore. And then going and saying that, hey, I'm only 15, bro. Check it out. Get me the fuck out of here. Um, let's see. Live with an aunt in Los Angeles. Okay. So I don't know. You know, one of the guys Bonanno tried to knock off was a Los Angeles guy, but that's the only connection there I can make. Um, Again, I keep going back to Bonanno because Bonanno was the biggest guy in Tucson at that time. He was a huge fucking mob guy. Ended up in Tucson in what, 60 or no 58? 58. I keep having to look this shit up again. Wait. I gotta look this up right. To Tucson. So I keep getting myself screwed up with all these. 68. He went in 68. So he retired to Tucson in 1968. He's in the University of Arizona from 1950 to 1952, but did not graduate. Um, wow. So he didn't do much with the fucking mob unless he was doing all his shit with the mob in Tucson. Huh. Because he didn't have a lot of time, right? So this guy fucking raised up to like, I think he was like, it says in 1970, Bonanno and his son subsequently moved to Arizona, Catalina Vista neighborhood of Tucson, Arizona. That's 74, but here we got 78. Yeah, I'll show you what I'm looking at here. If I can find it, geez. Yeah, there it is. So that's crazy. So he attended university in Arizona from 1950 to 1952, not graduate, maybe because he was getting into some other shit. But considering he was a big time guy in the New York mob, it didn't take him long to raise the ranks. I mean, from let's say he went straight at 52 out to New York, and from 52 to 68. Because in 68, the reason he moved there is because he was trying to whack all the other fucking heads, and I think he was even he was high up. He was a captain or some shit in the mob at that time, right? So he went over there and yeah, he tried to do some bad shit to some people, and yeah, so they fucking basically exiled his ass, told him not to come back, and then he ended up in fucking Tucson. But yeah, it's pretty fast to rise the ranks, man. I mean, if that's legit what happened, that was pretty fucking quick. Unless he was going back and forth from Tucson, New York, that's pretty fucking quick. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. It will be recalled the first got into serious difficulty in 1946. Yeah, he says unable and willing to abide by rules and restrictions. You're in fucking prison, bro. He found the penitentiary real rough. Got into fights, disciplinary difficulties. 70% of my time is spent in the whole last 2 years in solitary. Spent 5 years and 3 months. So, what was the original charge? 1946. 1940 charged stealing an automobile. He served 5 of a 5 to 8 year sentence. Okay, so 5 to 8 years you're supposed to spend in there. How'd you get out early, bro? What's up, Matt? How you doing? How you doing? Good to see you. So how'd you get out of fucking prison that early, man? Like, how the fuck did that happen? Um, if you're sitting here getting in fights, spending all your time in the hole, last 2 years in solitary, and they let you out, that's what the fuck, man? How do you get out early? And that was what, 46? Man, were you rolling over on people that early? 46 in Chicago. What was going on in 1946 in Chicago? Let's see. How about crime? Asa Williams Herons was one of the most sensational of Chicago's history. On January 7th, 1946, 6-year-old Suzanne Deegan was taken from her bedroom, butchered. Yeah, okay, I don't want to see that shit. We had some serial killers running around Chicago at that time, apparently. I mean, let's see. Timeline of organized crime in Chicago. What was happening in yeah, it's not there's nothing, dude. There's a huge lapse of organized crime on the internet in Chicago in the 40s, right? So Chicago, what you have is you have in 1937 Chicago being incorporated city. I don't care. Um, is this organized crime? Maybe this isn't. Hold on, let me see. No, it's timeline of organized crime in Chicago. Um, that's weird. They don't even have any of the Capone shit on here. Dude, Wikipedia sucks ass, man. What the fuck's wrong with Wikipedia? I mean, there's all kinds of shit going on in Chicago Crime Commission. Let's see, what is this? Dates are 1946, 1953. Oh, you fucking kidding me? This is some stupid ass site. This ain't gonna fucking help me. Um, there's something about some emails getting spread back and forth. Um, yeah, what the fuck was going on in the 40s? Let's see. Let's just try the 40s. Wikipedia is terrible, man. What the fuck is wrong with Wikipedia? Let's see. Crime in Chicago. That's modern day crime in Chicago. Crime in Chicago's image. Because Al Capone was running around long before then, man. 1840s. I don't want the 1840s, bro. Oh my god, dude. 31, 32. Let's see. Because my understanding is Capone went through there and cleaned house, and I believe that was in the 30s. Yeah, I believe that was the 30s when he went and cleaned house and killed everybody. Um, could be wrong, but it was around that time. The 1926 machine gunning of Jaime Wise, steps of the Holy Name Cathedral. Okay, so 29 was St. Valentine's Day Massacre. So 29 is when he cleaned all that shit up. That was, but yeah, it's a long time before all this this shit was happening. So in 29, when the Valentine's Day massacre happened, Paddock was what, 5 years old? Yeah, he's about 5 years old. So that don't really help much. Yeah, it don't really help much. There seems like there's a big like lapse in the crime of at that point, or at least in the that could have been because the FBI wasn't investigating organized crime at that point. I don't know. But he met, so he went to Los Angeles, obtained employment driving a bus for. So he's planning on staying in L.A. At one point, I guess. He's being fired for a real screwy reason. Accident report they didn't turn in. Yeah, and yeah, you fucked up, dude. You you're just a fucking idiot. I mean, you're not gonna. This fucking guy. So like, you're not gonna turn in an accident report when you were fucking fooling around. And you caused the accident. So whatever, dude. It's not that you forgot to turn it in. You weren't gonna. Um, Probably parked the bus in the back and said, "I didn't do it. It was like that when I got it." Let's see. 4 years ago, he came to Tucson, purchased a service station. Another service station across the street. He then worked for a sales outfit. Okay, so here we go. To back up the chronological account of, it'll be recalled that he first got into serious difficulty in 1946. He says he was unable and unwilling to abide by restrictions. Yeah, real rough. Yeah, okay, that's penitentiary stuff. But that was the time in '46 where he ran into the dude from Kansas City or whatever, got involved with this Kansas City thing with the bad check cashing, right? Do I have the Paddock fucking thing worked up? Yeah, I do. So if we go to good old Wikipedia again, which sucks ass. Let's see. So that's not it. That's not it. Oh my god, I got a million things open here. Okay. So Wikipedia. Let's see. So born in the 50s, in the late 1950s, Tucson. He operated a service station, which just says two, but where he sold used cars. Okay, so he sold cars out of those things. It's weird they would call it a service station, but I guess he was probably fixing them up and selling them. All right. And connected with the operation of a nightclub in Tucson, there was another thing that had the address of the nightclub in Tucson. I looked it up. It's now selling motorcycles. It's just, it's just some plain looking building that was probably around back then. It's probably the same fucking building. It doesn't look like it's been upgraded. It just sells motorcycles. Around it are a bunch of like, mechanics and, stuff, mainly for motorcycles though. But I'm guessing, hey man, maybe that's where, in my view, it's possible. I could see a scenario where he owned the damn, a couple of these service stations, whatever you want to call them, around that area, and he's fixing up cars, selling them, probably stolen, most likely. Back then, it was really hard to. So we're talking about what, the 50s. So we're talking about the late 50s, right? So you still had a problem, right? So cars back then were run-off engine tags. They weren't run-off body tags. They were run-off engine tags. So when you register an old car, and I know this because I have one, and it's a pain in the ass, they have a body tag and they have an engine tag. They had body tags back then too. So you have a VIN number, which is a body tag. That's what you use these days. That VIN number is also etched into the frame of the car. But back then, before I believe 1956, I believe it was, it ran off the engine tag. So, in those days, they didn't think anybody was ever going to swap engines. So when your VIN number on your registration matched up to the tag on the engine. Now, when you switch engines, that becomes a fucking problem, which I personally had to fucking deal with because, yeah, when you switch an engine, your registration no longer says anything except the license plate number. Plates are easy to switch out, so it's not a not much of an issue. So it's very possible that Paddock here was scraping the engine tag off of the engine, and then changing the license plates, and you pretty much your car's gone, dude. It's done. Uh, so I guess that could be a problem. But I can see a scenario where this motherfucker owned these service stations in that area. The bar happened to be across the street, and he fucking that's probably where he went. And he's a 6'4" fucking dude. Maybe he was the bouncer there for a couple days. Who knows? Uh, Although there could be something more sinister. I don't fucking know. It's just weird to me that you got this, this mob presence in Tucson, and you got this dude out here fucking robbing banks and you know selling stolen cars, most likely stolen cars. It's hard to say, but they most likely were stolen. But yeah, cars weren't hard to steal back then. So 46 convicted to auto larceny, 5 counts of confidence game. I don't know what the fuck confidence game means. I no idea what the fuck that means. Let's look at it, because I know these days what it means. It's a scam, an attempt to defraud a person after first gaining their trust. Confidence tricks exploit victims using combination of the victims. Whatever. Researchers had defined confidence tricks as a distinctive species of fraudulent conduct, intending to further voluntary exchanges that are not mutually beneficial. Okay, that could go through a lot of things, right? So, I mean, the way our justice system works, could they be going after them for selling stolen cars and being a con man for selling cars? I don't know. Term for scam, including confidence trick, con game, confidence game. Perpetrators often referred to as a scammer, confidence man, con man, hustler, swindler. Um, so, the shell game dates back to ancient Greece. Yeah, of course. I don't think he was doing the shell game though. The original confidence swindler, who asks his victims to express confidence in him by giving him money or their watch rather than gaining their confidence, or more nuanced way. A few people trusted Thompson with their money and watches. Thompson was arrested in July. Yeah, okay. Reporting. This ain't helping me out here, man. A long con, vulnerable factors. Yeah, I'm not going to find anything on this. Investment scams. I mean, I guess. Online fraud. Yeah. That was before that time. So, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about all that. Let's see. Thereafter, in Chicago, he sold automobiles in bulk. So we're talking about 46. Wait, last nah, because Chicago. Oh shit, I didn't even see that. He sold automobiles in bulk in Chicago. So that means that means before 1956. So he was in prison 46, 51. He was in prison from 51 to 53. 56, he went to Tucson. So he didn't have a lot of time to do this. Chicago, he sold automobiles in bulk. IE cars have been used by an auto leasing company. He says that he made $2,600 a month. So like I said, that is a lot of money back then. But his job entailed considerable traveling, and he quit it when he got married. He got married in 52. Dude, So this dude gets out of jail and immediately gets married, man. Holy shit. Yeah, I got to put a timeline together of this shit because this dude went to prison from 46 to 51, was out for about a year. Then he went to jail in 51. Um, wait, no, he went to jail. Oh my God, I got to put a timeline together of this shit. Yeah, 46, 51. They went back to jail at 53. So this motherfucker, he gets out of prison, gets married, goes right back in. And then he goes in for, spent less than 3 years. So 56 or something. Um, 56. So he gets out 56 and then he what the fuck, man? They immediately went to Tucson? So this doesn't make any sense, man. Chicago, he sold automobiles in bulk, i.e., cars have been used by an auto leasing company. He says he made as much as $2,600 a month, but his job entailed considerable traveling. Why do you have to travel to sell cars? I don't understand that. And he quit it when he got married. So in 52, he quit selling cars in bulk. So he sold cars in bulk from around 51 to 52. So he didn't do that very long. He did nothing very long, man. He's been married for 8 years. They have 4 children. So 8 years in 1960. Thereafter, he sold garage doors, porch, remodeling, etc. He says to himself twice during his examination, maybe I'm an alert psychotic. I can pick up and learn anything. It's a weird fucking way of saying that, but all right. This is where there are no challenges left in Chicago. The thrill had gone out of it. What kind of fucking thrill do you have being a car salesman, right? Unless you're stealing those cars. So I'm guessing, yeah, the bulk sales are probably him ganking cars, collecting them, and then selling them. It makes sense. Now, I don't know how he was on the north side. So I'm guessing in Chicago, he probably could have got away with that. I mean, I don't know like how the mob actually works in a lot of these instances, but I'm thinking like the mob usually controls their territory very well, right? And usually if you're doing something dirty that's making money, they want a part of it. And they don't allow you to do it unless they're getting a part of it. The thing is, like Chicago is a weird place because there were two organizations in the 30s. And that was when Capone went and knocked them all out in 29 and killed whatever that North Side Chicago gang was. So in the 30s, you would have had kind of a flux up there because I'm guessing you would have had some holdouts up in the North Side. But in the 40s and in the 50s, I don't know. It's hard to say. So, like, that's why I keep going back to the mafia stuff. Yeah, he chain smoked during the interview. He definitely did. And I'm chain smoking reading this fucking thing. But yeah, so no challenge left. So what was he doing? He was stealing cars in Chicago in what year? 51 to 52. There's no challenge left in it. The thrill had gone out, and then in 56 he fucking bails. But like, yeah, I mean, is it possible he was stealing cars on the north end of Chicago or somewhere around there? I mean, he probably drove a little ways to do this, but is it possible he was stealing cars, selling used cars without any mob involvement, without having to deal with the mob to the south? Because the mafia was on the south side of Chicago for the most part. Capone was. Capone ran things from the south, and the north was a different group that was part of that St. Valentine's Day massacre that he knocked out all their hitmen. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Why is that comment not coming up? What the fuck? Let's see. Yeah, that's what Homeboy was saying. He thought too. He thought that Capone was, or not Capone. Fuck Capone. He thought that Paddock was stealing cars from Chicago, moving them into Tucson, and selling them out of Tucson. Is what he thought, which kind of makes sense, right? It's a big city, a lot of targets out there. Um, I guess, but like, just, I mean, and I guess if you did something like that, I guess you could get around the mob, right? I mean, because at that point, you're not making money in Chicago. You're basically just ganking shit and then taking it over to Tucson, selling it in Tucson. Well, what was he selling in bulk? Because he claims he was selling in bulk. Thereafter in Chicago, he sold automobiles in bulk, so he sold something in Chicago. I mean, I guess he could have been posing as a legitimate. Yeah, that would be a lot of traveling. You're right. That would make sense. That would definitely make sense. You're right. But it says he sold them in Chicago. I mean, and this is all Paddock's words, right? I guess this is Paddock telling a investigator or whatever, the court, that these are his words. This is what he's saying. So, I'm sure he's leaving out some details here and there. Obviously, it'd be stupid not to. Let's see. Yeah, can you imagine driving a car from the fucking 50s from there to Tucson? That's fucking insane. How far is that? Let's see. Chicago to Tucson. I'm kind of curious now. How much of a drive that would be in these days? It gives me flights, dude. It's like, yeah, don't even try it. Um, by plane, let's see. Any direct flights. Yeah, dude, it's like, it's not gonna tell me how long it takes to drive there. Let's see. 25 hours, dog. 25 hours. 25 fucking hours, dude. And that's like today's travel, right? Yeah, that would be today's travel. That's not even back then, dude. I mean, my 53 Chevy struggles to go over 50. I mean, generally, it's fucking, you're going to hit 40 miles an hour and you're going to top out. I mean, because it's got its original engine in it. Well, it's got a rebuild of what was its original engine in it. Yeah, those cars not go fucking 70 miles an hour or 60. Granted, you didn't have traffic back then, so I guess you could accumulate, account for that. But dude, also learning how to roll back the odometer would come in handy. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he was doing a little bit of that, so it knock off that 1,700 miles for sure. But like, damn, dude. I mean, is he really driving a car from Chicago to Tucson? Spending a whole day, dude. That's a whole fucking day of driving. That's fucking nuts. Just to sell a car for, you know, whatever car sold for back then. I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. Um, let's see. Let's see. I'm just curious. What was the price on? What was the original price on a? Let's do what year was it? So we're talking about 52. So let's see what the original price on a 51 Chevy was. Um, So 51 Chevy, depending on the model and trim level, would have originally cost somewhere between $1,300 for a basic business coupe to around $2,200 for a full size station wagon. What the fuck, dude? And what's he claiming he made? He says that he made as much as $2,600 a month. Okay, sell two cars. Yeah, you're gonna make $2,600 because you didn't pay anything for them. You just spent money on gas. It was probably a nickel a fucking gallon. Um, it was leaded back then. Shit, man. You think he did that? You think this motherfucker drove? And I mean, 25 hours, 1,700 miles. Let's see. 1,700 miles. I don't want to pull out the calculator, so I'm just going to do this. So driving 1,700 miles at 40 miles per hour would take 42 fucking hours, dude. 42 hours. Yeah, that's a lot of driving just to. I mean, how did they transport cars back then? Did they have car transports like we do these days? How were they towed? Let's see. I'm curious. Okay. It says trains. Yeah, possible trains. Towards the end of the 50, cars were being transported mostly by rail. They were shipped on highway auto carrier trailers that could transport up to 10 cars at a time. Okay, well, there you go, right? Cars were transported by rail, ship, or highway trailer in the 50s. Let's see. Auto racks. 1950s, the automakers developed open-air auto-carrying train cars with 2 or 3 levels. These were economical and logical. Yeah, they've even got a fucking picture of that shit. So let's see. So you think that's what he was doing? Right there? Doing 4 at a time, something like that? He was a truck driver later, right? He was a truck driver when he went to Oregon. He started driving a truck in Oregon, which I was going to sit there and look into that because, I mean, there was a lot of Teamster shit going on back then. The Teamsters were coming under fire. And the guy that was in Oregon was a big part in the FBI going after the Teamsters. I guess he, the head mafia guy out there in Portland, I guess he said some shit and he got some people in trouble within the Teamsters for organized crime, running with them. But I mean, this guy, I guess he could have. Like right there, man, you can transport 4 cars like that. Yeah, he drove bus. It's true. Yeah, he drove all kinds of big shit. So yeah, you could have. Is that how he's making his money? At that point, yeah, I mean, and you're selling them used, right? So you're selling them for top value, right? The new car's $1,200. So what are you selling them for? 6? You put 4 of those on that thing, and you're gonna get your 2,400. Just stupid quick math. And he's saying he made about $2,600 a month. I mean, he could do one of these a month. Says he sold them in bulk, right? Shit. Is that what he was doing? I don't know. That sounds like a fucking high probability, man, or possibility. He only did it for a year, though, man. So it burned him out. See, used by and all these, and then let's see, where's the Benjamin fucking thing? Did I get rid of it? I might have got rid of it. Yeah, I might got rid of the Wikipedia on him. Let me see real quick. So Benjamin Hoskins Paddock. There's a couple Paddocks on here. No, that's him. Wikipedia's got a couple targets for the Benjamin Paddocks. Let's see. So what do we got here? A service station where he sold used cars. It says in the 50s he ordered, yeah, but in the other one it says he didn't move there, but it doesn't say he didn't own that. I don't think. Let me see. A fellow in the penitentiary. Yeah, I'm not interested in that. I want to see when he. What to say about when he moved? It would be called first serious difficulty in 46. Yeah, no, that's not what I'm looking at. So in 46, he was having problems in the penitentiary. Got out in 51. Started selling those cars. He then met a fellow who had been in a penitentiary with him. We got in a couple of guys from Kansas City, started check scheme. All right, let's see if we can get a timeline here. When was the check scheme? So I'm guessing the confidence game. I'm guessing all this. 1946, the auto larceny and the confidence game were probably him trying to sell stolen cars. I don't know, but I'm guessing. Till July of 1951. In 53, he was convicted of conspiracy in connection with bad check passing operation. So, okay, so that fits in, right? So between 51 and 53, so 52 or so, is when he started the check cashing, the check bullshit going on. So according to I said, I need to figure out how to, write all this shit. Get a paint program or something, make shit a lot easier. So that's right here. He then met a fellow who had been in the penitentiary with him. We sent a couple guys from Kansas City, ran off a check scheme. So this happened. If he met this guy legit in the penitentiary and not out in the wild where he knew the guy from the penitentiary, if he met this guy in the penitentiary, then that would have been in 46, because then the check cashing scheme started in 51 to 53, sometime in between there. So he started doing something like that. Now, so let's see. You drive Gary, how do you drive a car hauler? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, dude. Yeah, you're right. Crime scene was easy compared to this shit. It's just like keeping all these numbers in my head and shit are just killing me. That's why this stuff makes my brain hurt. So, yeah, he met the guy in 46, the penitentiary guy with the Kansas City guys and check schemes and all that sort of bullshit. He got busted in Chicago for the check schemes, it looks like. Am I right? Let's see. So, in 1953, he was convicted of conspiracy in connection with bad check passing operation. That was again held at Illinois State Penitentiary. So what is this Kansas City syndicate doing in Chicago? Passing bad checks in Chicago. And that other dude who got busted for the bad checks, I think that was later. That was in the 50s. and that was in Tucson. So I was looking at Tucson for the bad checks, and it's actually what's going on here in Chicago. It looks like. I mean, unless he was already doing the check cash. Although, if you guys are right, and he was actually going back and forth at this point and transferring the cars from Chicago to Tucson at this point, then he was already in Tucson in 51. So he's already running around Tucson 51. That dude who got busted, let's see, where's the FBI thing? That dude who got busted for the bad checks, this John Slayton, was in 1968. Or wait, no. Arrested John Slayton in, no, it doesn't say what year he was, but it says in the 60s. So he was hammered much, much later than this. So shit, man. I don't know. Every time I think I understand something, dude, it just the timeline doesn't seem to fucking work anymore. So yeah, it looks like the Chicago thing, man. It looks like he was just stealing cars and selling them. But where was he selling them? And then they did the check cashing scheme. Like I said, he met that dude in penitentiary, and they got some dudes from Kansas City to come up and start running the check, or to, I'm guessing, come up to do the check cashing scheme. But what was he doing the check cashing at? Was he doing it in Tucson or was he doing it in Chicago? Right? Because now if we're putting him in a point where this dude's like taking his cars, driving them to uh, Tucson, selling them in Tucson, which does kind of make sense, right? Because then later he gets out of prison, he goes to Tucson, he opens up two shops where he can sell cars. But then where's he getting the cars at that point? Fuck, I fucking no, man. Oh, this makes my brain fucking bleed, man. This is crazy. This is like AIDS. Not good. Kansas City's 8 hours to Chicago. Okay. But yeah, like I don't get it. Like I just don't. I don't fucking get it. I'm trying to. There's so many moving parts here, man. That's insane, dude. Because you got Chicago, you got a mob thing going on in Chicago, but then he's getting guys from Kansas City to do this check scheme. But then we also got Tucson in the middle of all this shit. We got organized crime moving into Tucson 68 when Paddock was in prison. Oh, and he was in prison. Yeah, he was in prison out there in Arizona. And then we got all the bank robbers. You know, we got him doing a couple bank robberies, and then we got the guys getting busted for the bank robberies. But then we got Paddock with the car that the bank robbers were using, that somebody was using. I don't know. Doesn't say what they did with it. Well, yeah, actually, it does. It does, because it says this was the what he got busted for in 1960. In 1960, 61. Um, Schnapp Bugman Springfield, any kind of insanity. So he wanted to go to prison. He wanted to be in prison. He wanted to go down for this. And I think he was afraid somebody else would go down if he didn't. He describes automobile 1960 Pontiac, in which there was such radio equipment as would be ideal for a burglar or robber because the operator could monitor police calls, FBI. He indicates in a rather involved story, I wish I knew this whole story, that the present charges arise out of a case of mistaken identity. He tells more or less confidentially of his dealings with the syndicate, on account of which he must not really attempt to defend himself or disclose to the court the identities of those who took his car, presumably committed the armed robberies. And I just lost my fucking train of thought. I just lost that complete train of thought. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Kansas City and Chicago are major rail hubs. I think he was doing them by rail. He says he had to do a lot of traveling, so I don't know if he was doing them by rail. I mean, I guess you could transport them by rail and then fly, but I mean, it's almost starting to sound like this motherfucker was loading all these cars up, stolen cars up into a hauler, and then hauling them out. Because you should not have to travel as a used car salesman. There's no reason to travel as a used car salesman, unless I guess you're like legitimately buying the cars and then driving out to pick them up and then driving them back. I don't know. But even that wouldn't be a lot of travel. That would be just considered, yeah, just driving around the city, I would think. I wouldn't think you'd be buying from freaking Oregon and driving a car all the way out there. It'd be stupid for used car sales. That just wouldn't be worth it. Um, so, so mistaken identity. He's rather involved. He indicates a rather involved story that presents. So he had some problems with some sort of syndicate that was running out of Tucson in 1960. In 1962, I mean, this is pretty precise, right? Because he's got a 1960 Pontiac, so you can't really put the stolen car past 1959 because they wouldn't have been selling 1960 Pontiacs in 1952. Um, so yeah, that would be a fairly new fucking car, and it's most likely in his name because and at that point they were using body tags. That was, you had VIN numbers, legit. You could actually check the frame on those, so you could definitely get the name off of that. So they set him up. Did they set him up? You think they could have set him up to throw him in jail? I don't know if they. And then it doesn't say. Well, yeah, he went to jail for bank robbery, right? On that last one. Let's see. Let's look this up real quick. Let's see. Benjamin. After escaping 68. Okay, so um, come on. He was accused of robbing branches of the Valley. Yeah, okay. So he's accused of robbing banks. Valley National Bank in Arizona and Phoenix on February 19th, 1959, which February 19th, 1959, you would not have a 1960 Pontiac involved in that. And on January 29th, 1960, that one you would have a Pontiac 1960 car available to you. He robbed another branch of 4,000 in July 26th, 1960, which definitely puts in the time frame of that car. First one, no, dude. You robbed that bank, bro. You robbed that fucking bank. Or well, it seems like you did. Uh, at least you can't use the 1960 Pontiac. Maybe that's why. Okay, so that might make sense, right? Because let me see if I can find the articles on him. Let's see. Let's see. At the time of the robbery, Paddock lived in Tucson. Uh, uh, okay, so yeah, here we go. All right, so to get this little timeline fucking hammered out a little bit, let's go to where is it? It's is it that one? Yeah, it's that one. All right, so here we got the news article. So it says, whoops, there we go. Although he's in prison for the $4,620 holdup of a branch of Valley National Bank in Phoenix, Paddock has also has been accused of two other bank robberies. Those charges were dropped after his conviction, right? So that kind of makes sense why they would drop charges on 2 fucking bank robberies. I mean, because that's weird, man, for someone to rob a bank and them say, "Nah, we're not going to prosecute you for that. Fuck that." So the $4,620 one, though, so the it doesn't make any sense, dude. None of this makes any sense. How does this fucking make sense? He robbed another branch for $4,620 in July 26th of 1960. Dude, so this makes no fucking see. I can put this all together, man, and it just fucking keeps breaking down. So the $11,210 he got in 1959, right? That's the one where you could say, okay, well, you can't use the excuse someone stole your fucking car, bro, because your car wasn't even built back then. But then it says he robbed a branch in of $4,620, which is the one the article is stating on July 26th of 1960. So he got popped. He got charged for the 1960, the July 26th one. He did not get charged for the February 19th, 1959, which is when that car wouldn't have existed. See, I could see it the other way around. Because if it was the other way around, it would make sense, right? Because then you could say, well, someone stole my car, dude, so they can't pin 2 of them on him, but they could pin the first one on him. But that's not what he got charged for, according to this article. According to this article, he got charged for the last one. And they dropped the other 2. Fucking crazy. Yeah, well, they called him Big Daddy also. Chrome Dome, Old Baldy, and Big Daddy. Imagine having those fucking names. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where to go with that. I don't fucking know where to go with that. I really don't. That don't make a lot of sense to me. Like I just don't understand why you would drop charges on 2 bank robberies unless they just didn't have enough evidence on those 2. I guess okay, so in one of these articles, it says somebody came out and saw his license plate, and that's how they busted him. Is the tellers that he robbed came out and saw his license plate, but and that's I think that's this one because I believe that was like something. Yeah, it was something he got popped for. So that would have been this one, but he's trying to say that he wasn't the one who did it. Somebody else did it. They stole his car. But at the same time, he's saying, just put me in fucking prison because I don't want to fucking rat him out. He's trying not to be a rat. But then he somehow gets out of prison miraculously early when all these other bank robbers start going to prison. So that's weird. It's interesting. I don't know, man. This shit's just it's breaking my fucking brain, dude. I don't fucking know. It almost looks like if I had to speculate on this, I think you guys might be right. That he gets out of prison in 1951. All he knows is stealing cars. That's what he went in for. Starts stealing cars, starts selling them. He went to prison for that originally. Gets out in 51. Starts selling cars in bulk now. So now he's like, fuck it. I ain't going to steal one car and sell that one car. I'm going to steal fucking 20 of them and sell those. It's possible he ran those off to Tucson and was selling those in Tucson and then ended up getting busted again. And when he gets busted again, he gets fucking nailed for, let's see, bad check passing operation. So then he gets busted for bad check. So, at the same time, he's selling these cars. He's also passing around bad checks. And you wouldn't have somebody pass a bad check to you. Although, so imagine this, right? Tell me if I'm fucking crazy. Hey, Kale, how you doing? How you getting? So tell me if Tell me if I'm fucking crazy here, right? Because like I said, this is breaking my brain here. So he's got these cars, right? He has cars. You stole these fucking cars. You are selling these fucking cars, and you're selling them in bulk, right? So you're making fucking mad cash doing it, right? Somebody passes you a bad check, you go and you turn it into the bank, and you're turning it into the bank as if you're the innocent party here, right? You're not the one who wrote the bad check. You're the one trying to cash the bad check, and then eventually you get fucking hammered because you cashed one too many. I could see something like that happening. I can see that as a possibility. Maybe that's how the check cashing operation was working. He was trying to run what looked seemingly was a legitimate business, although it probably wasn't, because he was probably stealing the cars in the first place, and then trading off the numbers off of the engine tags, and then he gets a check to buy four of these cars, 2 grand, and he goes and takes that to a fucking bank. Bank cashes it, and then realizes it's a dummy fucking check, and then fucking busts him. Be crazy if he was like he was the guinea pig here. If he's actually stealing cars and then getting set up by one of his buddies just passing him bad checks. I don't think that's the case. I don't know. I don't know, man. Like I said, this doesn't make any sense to me. It's just when it seems to, it just fucking doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, oh shit, yeah. I don't know, man. Like I said, and he didn't do it very long. He did it from 51 to he got put back in what 53. So he had 2 years of freedom to make some money. He claims they had money. You know, claims his wife, because he married her in 52, claims she kept some of the money that he made. Apparently, he made a fucking shit ton of money because she was able to survive for 3 years without him, and then saved enough for them to do whatever the fuck they were doing after he got out again. In fact, I think that was when he bought the stations, right? Let's go back to that. It's breaking my brain, dude. Oh, this sucks. But at least there's something on him, man. I mean, that's a good thing. Is like at least you can look at this guy. You can't look at fucking Steven. There's nothing on his ass. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do it in the same city. I mean, he robbed banks, in Phoenix, which is 2 hours away from where he was in Tucson. So yeah, he wasn't into he didn't shit where he slept. So Chicago, he sold automobiles in bulk. Yeah, okay. This job until considered traveling. That's crazy. And he quit, then got married. So maybe even told this guy like how he was doing it. I'm sure he did, but um, so he says there was no challenge left. He met a fellow. Okay, where was I going with this? I was going to. So he stopped in Tucson and decided to settle there. So discharged from penitentiary in 1956. He took a trip to see his family in Oregon, stopped in Tucson, and decided to settle there. Which is when I think he also moved the family down there, right? He indicates in Tucson took active and promptly successful part in various civic and other activities. No, I want to see where. That's right. That's where I was going with this. I wanted to see where he bought the thing. He bought the service station. No, that's just the examination of him. Let's see. 15, he joined. Yeah, I don't care. He went and lived in Los Angeles, where he obtained employment. Right? Yeah, for Uh, 4 years ago, he came to Tucson. He purchased a service station and another station across the street. He worked for a sales outfit, garbage disposal, washer, etc., until he was able to obtain and purchase the franchise for distributorship. Okay. Um, he does say, though, um, he indicates that in Tucson, he actively and promptly successful part of various civic activities. No. Oh, yeah. Well, here it is. Yeah. Well, I had money and my wife had saved a couple of thousand. He was interested in automobile racing until he thought it might adversely influence his boy. He says then he took up ham radio. So, okay, so he indicates that in Tucson he took an active and prompt. So he's saying I had money and my wife saved a couple thousand. So maybe she was working. He's either indicating she's working at the time or she saved some money that he gave her um, in Tucson. So they moved to Tucson. Oh God, what was it? 4 years before this, 56 or whatever, when he was discharged. So yeah, I guess she could have had a job. She could have saved some money, but he says I had money. So he and those are separated. So I'm guessing she was working and he had money. How the fuck did you have money? You only spent 2 years of freedom, man. How the fuck do you have enough money to do all this shit? That's crazy. Um, and then automobile racing, yeah, I don't really care about that unless he's like fucking racing for pinks, and that's how he's saying he got all these cars that he fucking won them from these people because that was a thing back then, I guess. So yeah, I don't know, man. That's uh that's just me going through this, man. This is something. There's something new. Uh, and again, the guy who gave this to me, uh, his his name is what we guys say. Ham radio back in those days would have been like having an untraceable cell phone. You know what? In ham radio, I wonder if you had to have a ham radio license in order to um, get a radio that could actually tune into police frequencies back then, and the FBI frequencies, because he does mention that his car had something like that. So I wonder if maybe that was something with that. If that ham radio thing wasn't just to get his kids out of the trouble that he was in, was to actually further his criminal career. That's just crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Like, so let's see. Kale said, "Hey, P.S. Makes sense if he was a government informant, probably a family business." See, I don't think like well, I make a distinction on informant and rat. I think he was a rat. I mean, yeah, it's still kind of a government informant, but you know, um, I don't think he was. I just get this idea like he wasn't theoretically working for the government consistently. It's just he decided I want to get the fuck out of jail and I'm ratting people out, and all these motherfuckers are going down. And then all of a sudden you have a bunch of arrests right before he gets out of prison of bank robbers, you know. And I'm wondering if that was part of that. But in this document, he seems to be deathly afraid of whoever it was that he was willing to go down and go to jail for whoever whoever it was that was working with him, the syndicate, whatever the fuck that means. Um, yeah, I don't know. See, I don't know enough about ham radios. So as far as the ham radio thing, that's a possibility. He said he had equipment in that car, which would be his ham radio license, right? So, he was a ham radio operator, so maybe it was easier for him to hide it, right? Because now you got a ham radio in your car, you got this big antenna sticking up out of your car, and you actually have a license to have that ham radio. So maybe there's something going on with that. But yeah, I do think it does seem like this motherfucker ratted some people out. That's what it seems to me, dude. They say he just walked out of prison, you know, in what, 69 or whatever, ended up in Oregon, and then they caught him, and then they didn't charge his ass. You know, I mean, this guy escaped from prison. He did what, 9 years out of his 20-year sentence. They just let him go. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking weird. So it makes me it almost makes me wonder if they just let him out of prison, because he says he just walked out. He just one day walked out. It's like, but who did he rat on? Who did he roll over on, man? And why was he afraid when he went into prison of rolling over on these people? And then when he came out, he wasn't afraid no more. I mean, is it possible that all the people that he was afraid of ended up in prison, and he wanted to get the fuck out, or that they ended up in prison? He knew they couldn't touch him anymore, so he just said fuck it, start ratting everybody out because he knew that at that point he wasn't really in danger. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, I think I've talked long enough. Glad you all came, man. That's probably the most people have ever had to watch a live stream in a long fucking time. But I don't know. Again, this file right here came from a guy, and he's in our Discord with us, talking to us. So, and if any of you want to join the Discord, man, I think everybody's welcome. It's on LVSA's uh, LVSA's community tab, man. He's the one that started this whole thing, and we've had some people join recently. I think September of last year we had like a dozen people join this thing, and that like doubled the numbers on it. But there's one in particular that is pretty freaking active, man. It's crazy. This guy's been doing a hell of a lot of lifting, and on Twitter, I guess his handle is the biggest shitter. He said he used to shit post a lot on there, so that's what he named his Twitter account. So you can find him on Twitter. He's the guy with all this that's doing all this research, that's finding stuff like this, and he has some more stuff. He was telling me something about when this guy did prison, he was finding other mob associated guys that were in prison with him at the time. So we'll see what shakes out of that in the coming days. I don't know. But I think I'm going to let you guys go. It's getting dark here, man. I got to deal with some shit. But yeah, if you guys want, yeah, join it, cuz I mean, you know, it was dead. It was very dead. And I think last September, when all these people started joining, and most of the people don't talk that joined. I don't know where a lot of them came from. I don't even know where this guy found it originally. I think, you know, obviously off of LVSA's site, but I don't know how a lot of these people just all of a sudden just jumped in. But yeah, it's active. Ever since then, it's been active, man. This guy talks. He's doing research. He's coming up with stuff like this, and you got a couple other people that are talking pretty actively in there, including me. I talk way too much, but anyways, yeah, probably the feds. Yeah, a bunch of feds joined. I don't think the feds give a shit anymore, dude. There's a dead case to them. Although we'll see in the future, man. If anything shakes out, I got a FOIA in for Benjamin Paddock, and I got my second letter back from them, which is basically the one where they give you the middle finger, or they give you a thumbs up, and they told me that they're going to be releasing whatever it is they want to release in the vault. So, and the vault's been pretty active lately. Not with this, but with other things. And you know, so who knows? I think everybody having to go back to work physically, you know, jump started that shit. But yeah, so you know, the Benjamin stuff may end up in the vault eventually. Who knows what we're gonna get out of that? I have no idea. This guy's also doing a lot of research on Stephen Paddock, and he's actually found some shit on him, which is crazy. Like nobody's been able to find anything on Stephen Paddock, but this guy's actually been able to do it. So it's actually extremely interesting. There's actually a photo in the Discord right now of Stephen Paddock that we haven't seen yet, that I haven't seen. LVSA hasn't seen. So it's all new stuff. So yeah, if you guys are interested in talking Vegas, that's the place really to do it right now. It's the only place around to do it right now. So I'll let you guys go though, man. Like I said, I got things to do. It's starting to get dark here. So until next time, man. Everyone stay safe out there.